demonstrate how to create reports and dashboards with Lanteria HR data. Before we begin, let's talk a little bit about Lanteria. We were founded in 2006, and we have clients in over 40 countries worldwide. We're the leading developer of HR management, performance, and learning software designed specifically for the SharePoint platform. Lanteria is a mature solution with best practices already baked into our products. This provides you with an enterprise class solution with years of HR industry expertise already built in on day one. The integration with Power BI allows you and your executive teams the ability to make good business decisions. All this starts with bringing in quality information, presenting it in an easily digestible format. And with Lanteria, we have a built-in report generator, so getting this information to your executives is easy. And now with integration with Power BI, analytics gets even easier as well. Let's talk a little bit about Power BI and what it is. So Power BI is a collection of software services and connectors that work together to turn unrelated data sources into coherent, visually immersive, and interactive insights. Power BI lets you easily connect separate data sources like Lanteria HR, or maybe a separate SQL database, or other items like possibly an Excel spreadsheet, or even data from outside services like MailChimp into a database you can then bring together and visualize the information, and of course share this with your management team. In Power BI, we have something called content, and the term content in Power BI is referring to both reports and dashboards. These are the building blocks that you use to explore your data and use these to make informed decisions. Note that the dashboards and reports can be shared on desktops, laptops, tablets, and even phones as well. So this information can be pushed out and shared with your entire executive team. Power BI reports are a multi-perspective view into a data set. With these visuals, they represent different findings and insights. A report can have a single visual or even blocks of data, as we see here in this report. There's several individual blocks of data on one report. Reports are normally created by a Power BI designer who then distributes these reports to the end users for consumption. A Power BI dashboard is a single page, often called a canvas, that uses or visualizes data to present data in a clear format. The boxes that you see are called tiles, and these are pinned to the dashboard. And in many cases, when you select a tile, you have the option to pull a report page where you can see the underlying data, as you see here. Here's a chart, and then underneath that, you can see the underlying data that makes up that chart as well. So it helps you with analytics. Within the reporting, our reports are delivered with a standard, within Lanteria, our reports are delivered in the standard out-of-the-box reporting for each module. And Lanteria also includes a report wizard that actually guides you through the process of building a customized report. In Lanteria, we have standard dashboards for each module, providing you insights into your business metrics. Right here is a standard dashboard. This is our performance dashboard, and it shows individual goals and performance stats. I can take this information and move this over to Power BI, and now this dashboard becomes much more meaningful because this is the same information, but when you visualize it in Power BI, you can add additional dimensions, and the data is increased for data analytical capabilities, so you can get much more out of the data sets by running it through Power BI and creating customized dashboards and customized tiles, as you see here. Now we're going to take a switch screens here real quickly. I'm going to have my team switch over to our Power BI designer, Victor, who's going to present and demonstrate how Power BI can be utilized to create dashboards and reports utilizing data from within Lanteria. So we'll give them a minute to just kind of switch the screens.
Okay, please let me know if you could hear me. Okay, so now we are watching to my screen, and I am showing the Power BI desktop software that is already configured and connected to Ontario content database as SQL data source. So we could see some number of already predefined and configured by Ontario team dashboards, and it just templates that are provided with Ontario software. So it's already what you have with out-of-the-box configuration. So we have some number of dashboards, but let's imagine that we would like to create something new based on the data that are stored in different SQL databases. And let's try to create some new dashboard that just was not created right now by our entire team. So we could choose the different visualizations to show the data that we are going to be that we would like to see on the dashboard page. So I would like to create a table, and let's imagine that we would like to see how much employees we have in different countries and to find the relationship between employees and countries that are stored in Ontario content database. So it's really simple dashboard just to show you the power and possibilities of Ontario to merge the data from different data sources. So firstly, I would like to include the country field that is stored in the employees table. Just give me a second. Okay, so we have the country ID, and based on that country ID, we are able to establish relationship with countries table. So I'm just including two different fields from different tables. One is a country title, and the second employee's country ID. So based on this count, we are able to understand the number of employees that are located in different countries. And now when my table is ready, we actually could just select visualization that we would like to show this data on the dashboard. So for example, if I would like to use the pie chart or some kind of bar chart, we could just switch this information in the Power BI desktop software, and it will help us to have the view what we are looking for. So let's imagine, just for example, that we would like to create one more visualization on the same page, and we would like to see the relationship between employee and city that is stored in Ontario content database. So I'm going to create one more visualization here. Okay, so, and let me include two fields here that will be related not to country but to the city. So we have some number of cities inside the content database, and we would like to see the number of each employee in each city. So I would like to add the city one more time and to count the city entries in the database. Okay, so that's the table view, and let's switch to something just more with better view. So I would like to switch the visualization to the pie chart. So we just have created two different dashboards with pie visualization, and we see different countries and cities inside these dashboards, and in such way we could create different dashboards and different visualizations using the data that is stored in Ontario content database, and we have a possibility to merge data that is stored in Ontario content databases, and we could merge the data from other third-party software in this Power BI tool too. So we could create really custom and really complicated dashboards based on these possibilities that are provided by Power BI software. That's all from my side. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Victor. That was very helpful. So it shows what Power BI can be utilized for, pulling different data sets from different areas. Let me just show you a static view of that so I can just give a little bit more insight as to the functionality of what we can do with Power BI as well. So here we have a Power BI desktop, and this is just a very simplified view. This is more for the HR teams. The technical teams can produce much more complex dashboards, but the basic process is you're going to go and get data from a data source. I've already done that in this system, and I pulled the data over here. That's what Victor was showing. We can then pick the type of visualization or pick the data sets depending upon how you want to represent the data. And this would be basically, like Victor showed you, a pie chart. And then we can go and pick the specific data that we want to see here. We pick the city and we pick the countries, and there we have our pie charts. Now we have the basic template or the tile to work from. Now within Power BI, you have a lot of different functionalities. You have the ability to customize this report by adding different legends and customizing it. So I can go here and work on my titles. I can change things like my font colors. I can change things like my background information here. Change alignment, and essentially customize it the way you'd like to see this chart for presentation. When this is finished, I can then go ahead and publish this out and push this out to my team so I can now share this information with my team. As I mentioned earlier, within the data visualization piece, if I mouse over, I can then show the underlying data underneath that, and I can also look at individual data sets here. And I can see the underlying records as well. So I want to see the data itself. So basically this data is made up of the data that we pulled in from the database. It's then visualized in Power BI through its engine, and then it's shared out or published. So this is the basic process. And you can customize this any way you like to make this visually appealing for your team members. Back to our demo, and I think we'll just take some questions right now. If you have any additional questions, you can email or call us. And let me switch over to the chat area here. And okay, so here's a question on getting data sources. So within Power BI, essentially, when you go into Power BI, you're going to be asked to set up a data source. You'll select the data source, whether it's a application like MailChimp or a SQL database. You'll then connect to that, and during the connection process, you put in your credentials and authenticate, and then the data will then be brought over from the database or the data set that you are connecting to into Power BI, and then you can work with the data sets as we showed you within the presentation. And here's a question on synchronization of data. So essentially, we're actually doing a live connection. So when we connect to a data set, we're essentially authenticating as a user. And then once we authenticate as a user, we can then pull the data into the Power BI database, essentially. Then we use that for rendering. So that's a great question. Okay, another question on Power BI. Okay. Yeah, so costs for Power BI. Power BI itself is a Microsoft product, so you can go to the Microsoft website and find out additional information. I know that you can download the Power BI desktop to your computer for free, but if you want to do any group sharing or work with teams, you'll have to have a subscription, and that's something you can get on the Microsoft website. Okay, here's a question on linking Lanteria. Okay, so the question on this one on linking Lanteria. So essentially, Lanteria is a SharePoint application, and the SharePoint application has a SQL database attached to it. So when you do your get data from within Power BI, you're going to point to that specific database. It's going to then ask you to authenticate. Once you authenticate, you are now a user, and you're able to bring the data into from Power BI. From Lanteria directly into Power BI. Okay. So here's one, whether it's asking about where the data is located. So if it's in a cloud. Okay. So SharePoint is actually a application that can run in the cloud or it can run on-premise. The specific location of the database doesn't really make any difference. Whether you connect to an on-premise situation or a cloud-based situation, the database is going to have an address. Within the address, you're going to put in the location of the database, whether it's going to be a web URL or an IP address. You're going to put in your credentials, it's going to authenticate, and then you're going to have access to the data. So actually location doesn't make any difference. You can connect to the database wherever it happens to be residing, whether it's in Azure server, on-premise situation, or in the cloud. Well, these are great questions. I love these technical webinars because they get really technical real fast. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Okay, here's another one on how much does Power BI cost. Okay, it's basically the Power BI application for the desktop is free from Microsoft. If you want to get a subscription for a lot of built-in functionality, and what we're just showing today is just scratching the surface of what you can do with it. There's a whole lot of things that you can create with these. You can do analytics, dashboards. You can do sync reports where you can actually have Power BI go out and do a poll and push data out to your consumers for updates and things like that. So it's a very robust tool. Generally, it's built by a website, not website, but a Power BI developer who then provides it for the end users or the business people. But as you saw in my example, there are some simple reports that even business people or salespeople like myself can build pretty easily. So it's a tool that has a lot of power, and depending upon what you need out of it, you can get almost anything you want out that you put into the tool. Okay, here's a question on platforms. So Power BI runs, I'm not sure if I understand the question. So if it's a platform question, okay, so I guess this is a PC-based application, so I don't know if there's Power BI for Mac. If you're looking for Mac users, I'm not sure. You can probably go over and check the Microsoft website and see if they support that. That's something I know off the top of my head. Maybe one of my teams can chime in and let me know, but okay, I see a couple more people bringing in questions. Let me give them a second to finish typing, and then I'll answer them, and then we'll wrap up. Okay, here's a question on what kind of data sources can be brought into Power BI. So virtually almost any kind of data source can be brought in as long as you can be read by the Power BI application. So that will include applications that have APIs that Power BI can read, such as like MailChimp, Excel is a good one, any SQL database. Essentially, as long as Power BI can read the data set, then it can bring the data in. Yes, here's a question on sharing information. So if you wanted to share information, you can extract data from within Lanteria HR, bring it into Power BI, and then that Power BI dashboard can then be shared with groups of employees who could reside outside of the Lanteria application. So yes, that would be outside of the HR group. That would be correct. It's designed to take data, massage, analyze the data, and then push the data out to the groups within your organization. So as long as they're in the Power BI group, they can receive and consume the data. That would be correct. Okay, it looks like we have all the questions for today. If you have any additional questions, please feel free